Hello everybody, welcome back to Middle-earth. This is our 4th episode of our Chiefdom of Rhun campaign. I am Count MRVHS, and we are going to be continuing with the campaign today. Let's see, when last we left, we were debating whether or not to build in particular Amron Door, and I think I'm going to hold off. One of the reasons for that is we're not making a ton of income per turn. We are doing some more building, but we are doing some training as well, and that's going to drain our coffers a little bit. So we'll just click end turn here and see what happens, as we forgot to move our general. Alright, that's good. Okay, Harondor has allied with both Rohan and the Reunited Kingdom. We'll see how long that lasts. Harondor is located way down here between the Poros and the Harnan rivers. They tend to get into trouble with the Dunabar, with Harad, and also with the Reunited Kingdom, who, of course, owns land in Gondor. Now, every time you choose a faction in this mod, the campaign will change from faction to faction. So if you're playing as the Reunited Kingdom, Dunabar and Harad will be buffed. If you're playing as a Dunabar, the Reunited Kingdom and Rohan will see a buff. So this is a way to keep the campaigns different. Given that I'm playing Rhun, I'm not sure exactly how that works. It could be that the Reunited Kingdom is going to emerge as a very strong power, which would be fine with me, actually. I'd be very keen to get into a good slugging match with them. So we'll just have to see how this goes. But whether or not Harondor remains allied to the Reunited Kingdom is something that we'll just have to wait and see. All right, fantastic. We got our first Homeland Dominion online. And as you can see here, this will now open up a little bit more building options. If this were a larger settlement, we would have a lot more here to choose from. As it is, we only have the option to build a rural province. This is going to increase our land tax by a little bit. It's not going to display on the settlement detail screen, but you can rest assured that we will be making some more money. So currently we're expecting to see profits of 2,500. I'm going to go ahead and build this even though it exceeds that amount, because it's just something we have to do. As you can see from the building browser here, rural province is the lowest. I mean, this is it currently begins as just an undeveloped province. So we're going to need to get rural province before we can even train anything, and then we're going to need to go another level higher to minor province before we can look at building even just a simple palisade. So as we said, there's going to be a lot of development required in Erebos before this becomes functional. Oops. Okay, Bregestalad does not appear to be threatened by anybody, so that's good. Alright, so we are going to take a hit due to that building. So let's just head down here and see how Amron Migor looks. They've got a single solitary swords unit in here, and I expect they're going to be evicted from this settlement fairly soon, which is great. Now, the last time we looked around here, the big army of Khand had moved, and I really wish I knew where it was going. It didn't look like it was headed in our direction, so my guess is it's headed south. Khand is not at war with anybody else, just me and the rebels, so it could be that this army up here was sent down into this region, the Khandian Southlands, to establish its rule down there. I do have another emissary that'll act as a cheap spy for us. Lug seems to be not really growing. They get 6 units here. Doesn't look like they're going to be a big threat to us. So let's just use this emissary to move around in this area and kind of get some line of sight. When these armies all get here, I think we will be ready to move down into Khan's other territory. We need this for our victory conditions. Akarn is their capital. It's very lightly defended currently. and I'd love to grab it. It's a chief settlement, as you can tell from the banner, which means it will offer us a great deal of options for building and recruiting. This settlement over here does not appear to be under siege yet. There should still be a fair amount of rebel soldiers inside. Okay, and here we've got Brada, our faction leader. What to do with him? One option, of course, is that we could go over and take this settlement for ourselves. I'd rather not do that. Again, I want Adunabar to be throwing their men against the rebels so that we can continue to trade with them, make a little money that way. And if we take this settlement, Adunabar will almost certainly attack us, even though we are allies. So I'm happy to let them deal with the problems of Eastern Mordor for a while. These provinces, by the way, are going to be more open to our rule, I believe, than to Adunabar's. So some of the backstory for the mod, for those of you who are not familiar with it, the Kingdom of Adunabar is nowhere referenced in any of the writings of Tolkien, but in a short story that he wrote, which you can find in a book called The Peoples of Middle-earth, I believe. This is one of the books in the series The History of Middle-earth, which goes into great detail about how Tolkien developed the world and the stories. Towards the end of his life, I want to say, maybe in the 1960s, he started a story that was set in the Fourth Age. This is after Aragorn had died, and I believe his son was the king in Gondor and Arnor at that time. And in this story called The New Shadow, there was rumors of a cult being established in this area, sort of in Ithilien. And we sort of ran with that idea for the mod. I say we, but this was something that had been around pretty much since the mod's inception, I think, that there was going to be this great civil war coming. The idea behind this, the civil war and Adunabar, is really just an extrapolation of Tolkien's own feelings that, after the Third Age had passed, as the power of the elves began to wane, the power of the Númenóreans, that, men would quickly grow tired of peace, and they would start to fall into fighting and backsliding into the cultic worship of sort of a Morgoth type figure. So that's why we have in the mod an alignment based on the Shadow Cult. That is really directly out of that short story, The New Shadow, which is different from the alignment Ways of Darkness. And again, the Ways of Darkness are the alignment of most of our family members for Rhun. I like that distinction because, to me, I don't know, I just like the idea of thinking about the Easterlings, the Haradrim, the Dunlendings, a lot of these other groups that we know very little about. I like the idea of them emerging from the grip of Sauron and this overt evil, and sort of steering their own destiny, but they're still, foreign enough to the Númenóreans that they have their own traditions. So that's a little backstory there. In terms of our own backstory for the mod, we had decided that the Civil War got started in earnest, in part because of previous Easterling invasions in the previous in the first century or two of the Fourth Age, during which presumably Easterling factions had begun to really put a lot of pressure on Mordor and Rhovanion, which is places that were friendly to or under the banner of the Reunited Kingdom. And in our version of the story, Gondor had not been able to protect these regions, so they fell away. So I think I'll just leave Brada here for now. He can act as, I'll put him a little bit closer, just so he can make any moves if Adunabar starts to head in this direction. Or alternatively, he could head down if Khand sneaks up through the fog of war there. Alright, and we'll end turn again. Alright, of course, you're going to see this a lot, me forgetting to move my agents around. Okay, interesting. So no new diplomatic news, but Gargol has fallen. This is originally a settlement belonging to the North Rhun faction, and it looks like Dorwinion has finally taken it. They will experience some unrest and probably get kicked out of it. These are some very elite units, though. Dorwinian Watch, Halberdiers. We pictured Dorwinian as being a Dunedain-influenced Northmen faction. And you can read a little bit about their history if you go to TotalWarCenter.net. There are some links, I believe, somewhere in the forum posts to where we get the inspiration for the idea. So anyway, this is, again, good for us. North Rhun has not conquered in the rebel territories yet. Neither has Dorwinian. They're liable to be busy there for a little while. Alright, we're making 2100 next turn. I'm going to keep my emissary in the area. Well, let's move him down, actually. I want to just see if I can uncover any more settlements. So this is Rathwin. This is the other Dorwinian settlement that they begin with initially. But meanwhile, I want him to stick around up here. And maybe next turn we'll work on some trade rights with Dorwinian. I think we may have tried last turn. We'll just keep trying. Okay. And a Dunabar also got kicked out of Amrun Magor, and that has filled up with not the best. These are just levy-type units, men of Mordor, sort of wild, undisciplined rabble. But they are led by a Captain's Guard unit, a fairly strong cavalry unit. It won't be difficult for a Dunabar to retake this, but of course it will cost them time and men. Here, Athrad Morn is under siege. So we'll send the emissary back to check that out. And it's under siege by a pretty small force. So very good. Muldin, only a couple of turns left for that fiefdom dominion. I want to get a watchtower down here. So now that I'm confident with my army size, oh, and more step out riders, I will take those. I think, let's see, I think it would be a good idea to have a watchtower right around here, since we don't have spies. Okay, now this is interesting. We've got an emissary from Far Harad. They begin the campaign with territory down here, and all along pretty much this desert area, as you can tell from the campaign map. They're a very interesting faction, by the way, sort of a they're a principality of the Empire of Harad. And they might be a good ally for us. Interesting. Okay, so Far Harad here has taken this rebel settlement, it looks like, right under the noses of Khand. So, I don't believe they're at war yet, but very often they do come to blows. So this is a good thing. They have basically stalled Khan's southward expansion. That means they're going to be a bit weaker. So they're going to probably want to get some trade rights with us, and they may be interested in an alliance. I don't know, honestly, if I want to do that. I may. Well, let's see. This guy doesn't really have a lot of influence or authority yet. It might not be a bad idea to see if we can get a deal going, and then see about a ceasefire with Khand. Let's see. Okay, nope, they don't want an alliance. I'm sure they're going to want trade. So let's see about a ceasefire here. I'm going to just offer them some cash to see if they're interested in anything. No. Alright, maybe next turn I'll try map information instead, or just an outright ceasefire and see how they feel about that. It also is not a bad idea to get my army down here. It looks like they've concentrated forces in this part of the world. So that could mean that they're ready to attack Far Harad, in which case the dynamics could certainly change here. Both of these factions may be interested in an alliance or peace. Okay, and we're dipping into our profits, so just one turn left for a rural province. So let's just pass the turn again. Erebos is done with that rural province. And Harondor and Rovanion have declared an alliance. Okay. Let's see what we can do here now. Again, we're not making too much. Traders are generally a good build. Not only for the income, which tends not to be large in some settlements, but for the population growth, so that can help with our training. I could also go for control posts, but I think at this point I'll go for the trader. Let's check out animal fights. That does give us a bit of income and population growth as well. Not a ton. This is also a settlement that's officially Ways of Darkness, as you can see. So this would just reinforce that, give us a bit of money, and help experience for any troops that we train here. This is a great line to go down, but I'm going to go with the cheaper route first. We're going to go with the trader. And let's see if Dorwinian is open to trade this time. You know, maybe they want to give me their map info. Okay, they want some money, but let's ask for a little cash instead. I think we tried this last time. We'll see how they're feeling now. No. Okay. Never mind. I expect they're going to lose this settlement, so we've got some time. Let's see, we're a bit low on cash. I would really like to see a war break out here between Farharad and Khand. Especially if I can make that, if I can wait for that to happen before I march on Akarn. I think that would give me some diplomatic and strategic leverage. So let's wait. I know we're going through turns kind of quickly here, but I want to make sure any moves I make are going to have the most impact. Fantastic. Fiefdom Dominion. Alright, so our income has jumped up quite a bit. We've basically doubled our per season income with the construction of that. I want to check my faction leader's authority. It looks like he's still at 7, so that's good. Okay, so here we don't have a governor. It would be great if we had some more competent generals, but we don't. That said, I really want to get building here, even though it's not going to... we're not going to see a lot of discounts. So I'll go right for control posts. We don't have a good population here, but we are seeing it grow. When we get control posts, we'll be able to at least train some garrison troops here, and then with the second tier, we will be able to get horse archers. Now here, we do see a small army marching. My guess is that they came from Lug. It looks like it. They've only got 3 here, and here they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like they trained a few extra troops and sent them west to challenge some of the devastation I'm causing on the border here. This is because my general has been standing here for a couple of turns, and his men are just raiding the area. So that's hurting their income a little bit. I don't think there's a lot of sense in attacking this army. What I may do, let's see, is send my troops down here. They've only got their ruler and 2 units of axemen in the capital. I could take that pretty quickly before anyone could come back and hit me, I believe. So how about this? Let's see if they're interested in a ceasefire first. Now that I've got a big intimidating army there. Let's see if they'll give me map information and some cash. I don't really anticipate this is going to work. But I just want to show that I'm willing to deal. No. Alright. So we will go ahead and besiege Akarn. Again, this is a little ahead of schedule as far as I'm concerned, but hopefully I can take it next turn. We still got 1,200 to spend, so Adunabar has taken back Athrad Morn. No unrest there, so it looks like they're going to be holding on to it this time. They are also besieging Amrun Magor. Let's get our emissary down there and see what that army looks like. Okay, pretty small. So that's good. Less good. Brag Estelad has fallen to Rovanian. They are liable to hold on to this. This is a Ways of the West aligned settlement, and Rovanian tends toward that as well. So, we have a neighbor. Now, we could go for trade rights here. Rovanian, I believe, is not at war with anybody, and they do have at least one ally. Yes, they're allied with Harondor. So, I think we're going to need some troops in this part of the world. Let's use our money. We've got a one turn before the trader comes online. Let's use, what are we making, 1218? Let's send a couple of soldiers to the west. I'm going to want some axemen, I guess. And up here, we just built control posts so we can train another unit. What do I have here? A couple very beat-up units of warband. You know, I'm going to send this guy back to Fennis Rim. And in Fennis Rim, we're going to go ahead and train a warband unit. Okay, I'm going to keep Brada in this part of the world. I know there's a possibility this army could head to Muldin, but I could get there within 2 turns, so I'm not worried that I'm going to lose it. This is just a lieutenant. Probably this army is going to swing down here, so let's save the game real quick. And see what the next turn brings. Okay, very interesting. This army has headed over into the west. Amrun Migor does become a target for Khand, so maybe that's what he was thinking about doing. I don't think they stand much of a chance of getting it. He could also be heading in this direction. Khand needs to take Lond Nurnin here for its victory conditions, so it may be that the AI is programmed to be interested in the eastern parts of Mordor for that reason. Okay, Far Harad is at war with Harad. I guess that's good. Harad is really one of my biggest concerns. As you can see, we have 0 natural borders separating us from the south. So this is one of the reasons I would love to get a protectorate, either out of Khand or maybe Far Harad eventually. Otherwise, we're going to see a lot of stacks, big armies of Harad moving toward us. And those are ugly fights. Harad has some good units. They have a lot of spear-throwing units, which can absolutely wreak havoc with our own. So, let's see. Let's send our axemen over. Okay, this army is leaving, and it looks like they're headed down here. I'm going to head in this direction myself because there is another settlement over here. As you can see, southern Rovanian. There it is, Lith Morchant. Okay, and Adunabar has taken it with some royal longbowmen and Swords of the Shadow. Adunabar initially begins with units that are a mix of what you can train as a cultic alignment and what you can train if you go over to the Ways of the West. Royal Longbowmen are representatives of the latter. You can see they've got the star sort of pattern, and of course the Swords of the Shadow represent a more cultic force. Lithmore Chant is a small settlement. It would be great if Rovanian and Adunabar went to war, as far as I'm concerned. But we'll see. It looks like this has not been taken yet. Alright, so what we have to do is assault a Karn. I think I'm going to not train anything just yet, because if we take it, which I assume we will, then we will have to rebuild immediately. So let's save and go to it. Question is, do I want to actually fight this out or just auto-resolve? You know, I think I'll do that. This is not... Okay, 11... Oh my gosh, I lost a ridiculous amount of... Okay. Probably should have fought that one. Oh no. Okay. I think here I want to occupy. The unrest does not look too bad. And that has the advantage of keeping the population largely intact. We are going to have to rebuild the stockade. You can notice the walls here are a little bit bigger. This stockade type wall allows you to set people up on the top, so it's quite an advantage. Hopefully that'll be enough for me to hold off any attack, but just look at the losses I took among my archers in that auto-resolve. Oh, that's not good. I'm going to train another emissary. I'd like to get someone over to Harad and start uncovering some of these other settlements. And I can retrain, because this is a chief settlement, you can retrain any mercenaries that are available in the surrounding area. So we picked up some steppe outriders, and we're just going to go ahead and retrain them. So if I build consultation here, which I don't really want to do just yet, because it's twice as expensive as it needs to be, and we obviously we need to destroy some buildings first, but that would have the advantage of cutting some of this corruption down. So that's something to look at for the future. But meanwhile, let's go ahead and get rid of these useless buildings. Let's see. They've built a road camp here. I believe this is something that we do make use of. Herbalist I want to keep. That's helping with our population growth, or it will once we build our own fiefdom dominion. We're going to keep the market. That's only one step away from allowing us to recruit scouts or spies. We're going to keep the Trials of Blood. I believe it's been a while since I played the mod. I believe we want to keep those because we do benefit from this. It's our same culture, but we're going to get rid of the Homeland Dominion. We have it established in the other settlements, so this is a good move at this point, and we're going to get started on provincial pacification. So we've got 5,000 to spend, and what I really need to do, now I'm starting to get my supply lines extended a little uncomfortably. I'm going to bring my faction leader's army down here, just in case. I noticed in the south there were at least 2 armies of Khand here. Now I see only 1, so probably they're going to head back up to contest the loss of a Karn, and I'm going to need to build some more soldiers. We're going to get some more archers. We're going to get another unit of skirmishers, I think. And in Tham, as far away as Tham, we're going to go for another unit of axemen. Raycoast, we can train here as well. I'm going to go for raiders just to get a bit more cav, and they move a bit further. Excuse me for a moment.